everybody,
Sure.
I think, especially small business owners,
I took a little
they
bit
will
of time
have
off.
setbacks. In
Okay,
between
I
the
talk
corporate
about
world
it all
and
the time.
my small
It's
business
never
world.
10 steps forward.
And it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Try to figure out,
1 step back.
what would be the best
In the
next
pandemic,
move.
maybe it's 1 step forward,
for me,
3 steps
and,
back.
that's
I
the way
decided
small
that
business is.
I wanted control
So,
over my own
revenue
these
stream,
setbacks,
my
but
own
you
destiny,
learn
I
from
guess.
every little step back
Not that
happens.
other corporate
and then
entities
you
wouldn't
learn
be
and you
good to
regroup
work for, but
small business owners are famous for
I really
regrouping,
wanted the control.
taking a step back, digging
And,
their heels in,
so,
pushing forward 2 or 3 more
and then
yards. That is a classic
and then I
sign
started just moving
of a
forward a
true
little bit,
small
taking
business
baby
owner,
steps,
is
if
they
you will,
never
and
give
to
up.
some extent,
Because
they
they
don't
don't
want
want
to
to
work
work
for
for
somebody
somebody
else.
else.
They want
the
to be
corridor
their
as
own
you go
boss.
down
And I
the
saw
path
that during the
pandemic,
and then
we hardly saw any small business owners go out of business. Even the ones that were just devastated by the
CPA
pandemic.
in St. Louis.
I think only 1 or 2 of them went
As
out of
soon
business.
as I got to that
Everybody
business model,
else found a way
it
to
was like
dig their
magic.
heels in,
And
everything
pushed
forward
started to
and
click,
regroup,
and it was
and
like
and
taking
go
the
forward.
Rubik's Cube.
So
and
finally,
and then,
making that last click and
you
everything
know,
lined up.
sometimes,
there's
people
trauma.
just,
Started knocking on my door.
Honestly, it can almost
Honestly,
be like
begging me for
post-traumatic
help.
stress
And,
disorder.
and
If
I
things
knew
are
I
the
had
steps back or my
bad enough.
come up with my
But
future.
you
my-
grow from that.
the
So,
business that
you
business
heard the
model,
song. What doesn't kill you
for
makes
me
you
for
stronger.
the rest of my life. So-
And that's what happens with trauma.
Tom,
Is
why do
it
people
can be
who are W2
hard to deal
employees
with a
think
bad
that they are more
experience or
secure
something,
professionally
but
than small business owners?
resilience. It builds resilience.
Well,
Eventually, you learn to cope
W2
with it. You
employees,
you
they
move
have
forward,
sort
and
of
you're
this
stronger
false
for the
sense
next
of hope or
setback.
false understanding.
So post-traumatic
that,
growth, I think, is a
they-
term I've heard
they
recently
have,
that really excited me
long-term
because
career
that is what.
aspects, that they maybe have more legal protection than they really do. That they I tend to believe the employers. When the employers are often just trying to put their best best foot forward, and I don't want to say they're lying, but but that's too strong, I think. But because I think employers try really hard most of the time, but they're generally putting their best foot forward. It's maybe not reality, and if the employee was ever a business owner, they would realize how hard it is for business owners to make payroll, and that business owners are not thinking about what do I have to do to create a long-term support opportunity, a program for this employee. Just the opposite. The employer is always thinking, how do I cut cost? How do I avoid long-term financial commitments to these employees? Because it's just a huge burden. Obviously, nobody would want to take that on if they could avoid it. And the employee just doesn't get that. They just aren't, thinking about it in those terms, and they kind of, it's almost an avoidance. I think an avoidance tactic on an employee's perspective. They don't want to. They don't want to see how vulnerable they are, but they are far more vulnerable than somebody who has their own small business and is in control of their own destiny.
Please explain the shift in a person's mindset that they need to make from a W-2 employee to a business owner to be successful.
I'd say the biggest shift there is a huge shift in mindset for going from a W-2 to being your own small business owner. And the best way I can describe it is when you're a W-2 employee, you just keep getting this paycheck. It really doesn't, in the short term, it doesn't matter if you really perform, because employers usually can't move that quick, to let somebody go. And so you're constantly getting rewarded. You're getting your paycheck no matter what, you're how good you are at providing service. Whereas a small business owner, it's not like that at all. Every transaction, every client, every transaction, you have to perform to get paid. And so you are much more on your toes as a small business owner, and you are attuned to the client. You get attuned very quickly to your clients and your own self-improvement and your own psychology, because now you're living, you're making a living on you, Tom Dunn's own psychology. That's what I'm making a living off of, and if I don't perform every single time, then every time I don't perform, I don't earn a living effectively. So it's way different mentality. You are making a living on your own psychology, and not just getting a W-2 check that keeps going and going and going until finally an employer has you move on. So it's a totally different mindset, and you learn it pretty quick as a small business owner. But I think it's really good for people, if they have the motivation to be a small business owner. You have to have motivation, or you have to be able to find your motivation as a small business owner, because it takes a lot of energy to perform at that level.
Will you please describe the different types of entrepreneurial personalities you have worked with over the years with Tom Dunn CPA firm? For example, general managerial.
Right. So there are a lot of different personality types, if you will, who are small business owners. So often the small business owners are going to be the outliers. They're going to be people who maybe don't fit in a company, a big company, or they're extremely talented and motivated and are outside of what a business can really offer them. And so they go off on their own to be independent and not be shackled by, the big company. So there's all different types. There's I call them general managerial, which is a pretty balanced type of small business owner that you might see from a big company manager type of person. I call a true entrepreneur is somebody who is very creative, but also general managerial, and that is a rare find. That is a rare type of small business owner, but that's my definition of a true entrepreneur. But then, there's the ADHD, ADD type small business owner, the dyslexic small business owner, the OCPD small business owners. They're anxious, anxiety types. Maybe even like the depressive types. Mood goes up and down. And to be a successful small business owner, you have to understand your own psychology. It's really almost one of the first steps that we help people with. Not that we're psychologists or anything, but if you're really good with people, let's say you're ADHD, or ADD-ish, and you're great with people, but you can't perform project management type duties, well, you better not start a small business that is all about project management, okay? Because you're going to fail. So you've got to get your small business model built around you, your own psychology, what you're good at, and what makes you happy. So it's a huge factor in the success of small business owner.
And is there ever an ideal or good time for someone to start a business after they've been laid off? Should they continue to search for a job or start a company during a recession?
So if you get laid off in a recession or at any time, should you look for another job? Should you create your own small business? It really comes down to what's in your gut. What is your gut telling you? And if you've got no problem signing up to work for somebody else again and letting them control your life and be in charge of your family's revenue stream, you're just in a situation where that doesn't matter to you. It doesn't bother. It's not a risk to you, and it's easier. You just and you still think there's opportunity left. Then you might go that path. But if in your gut, you're like, I can't bring myself to work for somebody else. I really want control over my own destiny, my family's revenues, financial revenue stream. I want control over it, and I have the motivation. I'm highly motivated. Um, and if I would work, here's another angle: is if I would go to work for somebody else, maybe I'm at the age where um, it almost becomes a stair step down. I'm going to lose my job every 2 years, or have to find a new job, and every time I do it, I'm going to do taking pay cuts. And then when I'm 65, there is nowhere else to work. No one will bring me on. But as a small business owner, you could reap the rewards of your own energy and motivation and talent, and nobody's going to limit you. And you can do it into your 80s if that's what you want to do, as people live much longer. So it starts with the feeling in your gut. I've got to tell you, it's a gut feel, and then if you're okay working for somebody else, that's the path you'll go down. But if you're not, your gut won't let you do it. And then just put it aside and start working on creating your own small business. Well, I keep my energy levels up and I stay focused. I start my day every day. I get up, my alarm goes off at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I am at the gym at 5 o'clock every morning. And I work out for an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes, and then I get to work by 7. So I am all fired up and ready to go, just like I am right now. Because I just got here from the gym 20 minutes ago. So it gives me tons of energy, and I just blast through the day, and until I get to the mid afternoon, and that's my first tip, and it can be at the gym, it can be yoga, combination of that, but that's one of my biggest tips. And then the second one really is I built this firm and my business model around my own psychology, and so I do every day here what makes me happy. So this is not work to me. It's not even a hobby. It's entertainment for me. It's entertainment. I can be that strong with by calling it. It's not work. It's entertainment. The only time it's not is when I'm tired at the end of the day and it's time to go home, and then that's when I know it's time to call it a day. But yeah. So and then what happens as the business grows, then there needs to be tweaks to the business model to keep it that way. So when I first started the business, at one point I was doing so much clerical work because it was just me that I didn't enjoy that. And so that's when I knew I had to bring on my first young accountant to help me take on a lot of the clerical work so I could stay at higher levels. And there have been 20 evolutions, in the firm really since then. And it's almost always there to make me happy. What do I have to do to make it fun for me, keep it fun, and keep it as entertainment? And that always ends up being good for the other partners and the clients. So motivation will fluctuate, throughout life. Um, and why does that happen? Well, people's psychology, they may have the type of psychology where it can go up and down. They can be depressive. They can be anxious people, that maybe want avoidance is a problem or something with it. Um, um, Health, can slow you down and take away, that motivation. That's why it's important to stay healthy. And if you're not, address it and then and then get back, work hard at rehab and what have you, and get back at it. Everybody, I think, you know, especially small business owners, they will have setbacks. Okay, I talk about it all the time. It's never 10 steps forward. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. In the pandemic, maybe it's 1 step forward, 3 steps back. You know, that's the way small business is. And so these setbacks, but you learn from every little step back that happens. And then you learn and you regroup. And small business owners are famous for regrouping, taking a step back, digging their heels in, pushing forward 2 or 3 more yards. That is a classic sign of a true small business owner, is they never give up, because they don't want to work for somebody else. They want to be their own boss. And I saw that during the pandemic. We hardly saw any small business owners go out of business. Even the ones that were just devastated by the pandemic, I think only 1 or 2 of them went out of business, and everybody else found a way to dig their heels in, and push forward and regroup and go forward. So, and then, sometimes, there's trauma, with all this. Honestly, it can almost be like post-traumatic stress disorder, if things if the steps back are bad enough. But you grow from that. So, you've heard the song, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and that's what happens with trauma. Is it can be hard to deal with a bad experience or something, but resilience, it builds resilience. Eventually you learn to cope with it, you regroup, you move forward, and you're stronger for the next setback. So post-traumatic growth, I think, is a term I've heard recently that really excited me, because that is what it's like. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I feel like I understand my own psychology really well, because I've been at this small business thing for 20, 23 years now, and to be successful with it, as I've mentioned, you really have to understand your own psychology. And I learned early on that and I think most of humanity, we are bred through evolution to want to work. We have a basic instinct to want to work, and when we're not working, it doesn't feel right for most people. I'm not saying everybody, but for most people, it doesn't feel right. Bred to work, and then I really understand my own psychology, and I built a firm around what makes me happy. So it's not work. It's, like I've said, it's entertainment. It's a hobby, and it really keeps me motivated. And um, I hope I never, at some point, my health will what will stop me is my health. Someday if I run into some bad issues or something when I'm in my 90s or 100, I might have to stop. But otherwise, I'm going to keep going because it makes me happy. See this a lot. Small business owners that are not being successful, and what's happening there is they often just have a bad business model. Happens all the time, actually. And sometimes on one end of the extreme, it could be that the small business owner is in a business that they should not be in. They have gotten themselves into something that's actually their kryptonite, and they shouldn't be touching that. They should go to where their superpower is, and not to where their kryptonite is. Or it could be something as simple as they just aren't charging enough. That is probably the number one recommendation that any consultant will tell a business, any size business, is that you're just not charging enough, because most people don't do that. They're a little gun shy, about that, especially when they're just first getting started. And that's okay if you're beta testing your model, you're just whatever. But at some point, you have to charge what it takes to be able to deliver the service that people want from you, and have the right partners or employees to be able to do it. So. But we help people with this all the time. It's why a lot of people come to us, is they've got a business model that's not working, and we help them with it. Or they've got a business model where they're overwhelmed with success, and they need help with that, because it can cause just as much chaos. Businesses fail almost as often as they grow, compared to when they actually just get started too.